Yes, so let's talk about Sound of Freedom. Sound of Freedom is a film that has come out recently, which is showing the events of people in real life. I think the name is Tim Ballard, a man whose exploits helped to break up sex trafficking rings across South America. It will have some embellishments as part of the story because anything based on a true story will have some embellishments.
Yeah.
It will not actually accurately present how these things go down because I'm sad to say, if you expect a purely accurate film on how a true event went down, you're not going to get it. People are going to be horrified when they hear what actually happened in the events behind Braveheart.
As you may know, YouTube arbitrarily demonetized our channel, so I'd like to thank Lotus.com's first sponsor, Atlas VPN, for supporting us and providing a service that is actually useful as we move into our new cyberpunk dystopia. Atlas VPN Premium is just $1.83 per month, with 3 months extra and a 30-day money-back guarantee if you aren't happy with the service. Follow the link in the description to sign up. You'll be liberated from region locks, so you can watch streaming content from anywhere in the world, but I think more importantly is that it masks your IP. Firstly, this prevents us from being spied upon by the various state dragnets. We find it important that it keeps your Google searches private, which prevents them from tailoring the results based on your past searches, which prevents them from hiding information because they've built up a profile against us. It also protects you from being the target of malicious ads, trackers, and malware, and informs you when someone is trying to steal your data. There has been a spate of people getting their accounts hacked recently, and Atlas VPN helps protect against that. Atlas VPN is also easy to install. Even I could do it without assistance. What you're seeing now is the footage I recorded of myself installing the thing. Once you're logged in, you can see that you just need to click on the location that you want to tell the internet where you want to be from, and you're all set. To repeat then, Atlas VPN Premium is just $1.83 per month with a 3-month extra and a 30-day money-back guarantee if you aren't happy with the service. Follow the link in the video description to sign up, and remember, supporting them is supporting us, so please do check them out.
For instance, which is a notoriously historically inaccurate film, but it's been very popular. People have been really enjoying it.
It's entertainment. It's not a documentary.
Well, yeah, people want to watch a film where the bad guys are child and people traffickers and they get what's coming to them, given to them by righteous, well-adjusted, strong men.
Yeah.
That's the kind of film that people have been yearning for. Hollywood's not been doing a good job of that.
No.
Hollywood has not been doing a good job of that for a long time. And because a film has now come out, which is giving the people what they want, which is bad guys are evil and they get what's coming to them, newspapers like The Guardian and the liberal media have decided that what they want to do is now smear this as being QAnon paranoid conspiracy. And all I can really say to that is, what an odd thing to say. And before I get into the rest of this, once again, I'm going to direct everybody to the website where we have so much excellent videos and so many excellent articles on here, including this Brokenomics video where he's talking about the fourth turning, which is an influential book that seeks to understand generational cycles and how they shape history. It sounds very much like the cyclical idea of history, you know, empires rising, empires falling. I can't say that for certain because I've not watched this video yet, but Dan is always excellent in his Brokenomics videos, so please check that out. And as you can see there in that image, he is, as always, dressed like a Miami drug dealer. So if that's not enough reason to watch this episode of Brokenomics, then I don't know what's going to convince you. Anyway, so there's been some bad news for Hollywood over the past few weeks, is they keep releasing films that everybody says, I don't want that. That looks rubbish. Please stop trying to get me to watch this.
Yep.
And then they release the films and nobody goes to watch it. Or, more likely, nobody goes to watch it in enough numbers to actually make any amount of money back. And some of the articles that I'm going to be referring to later on don't seem to understand how it works with how Hollywood makes their money and how Hollywood budgets films. When you see the budget of a film, it'll say, for instance, in this, the two films I'm going to be referencing here are The Flash and Indiana Jones 5, Dial of Destiny. No, I've not seen either of them. I've not even seen Sound of Freedom. The most recent film I watched last night, I watched Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl for the probably 50th time. I've watched that film so many times because I love it. It's a good old-fashioned adventure Hollywood film, the kind that you don't get anymore because you don't get a big budget for that, for a film that actually goes, shall we just make something that people can enjoy?
Yeah.
You're not going to get a character like Captain Jack Sparrow anymore, and you're not going to get a film like Pirates of the Caribbean anymore because it's set in the Caribbean during British colonial times. You know, if they made it right now, it would need to have some insufferable subplot about slaves being freed or all of the horrors of colonialism. And they went, no, We just want to make a good action film starring pirates.
Yeah.
And that's all it needed to be. But I've not watched any of these, and I don't want to, except maybe The Sound of Freedom. You've tried to watch it, but you've not been able to make it to a showing yet, have you?
Yeah.
I
I've
don't,
not seen it
I
yet.
don't know if it's been released internationally, actually, because from the box office that I've seen, they've only
No.
got domestic box office.
Yeah.
So that suggests it might only be in America at the moment. But
I will be going to the cinema to watch the Indiana Jones film. I just have to.
oh dear.
I'll let you know what it's like when next time I come. I will be going to watch it.
Okay, I mean, fair play to you. God bless you, and good luck, because so far, like I say, The Flash and Indiana Jones, people haven't been enjoying them. They've not been getting excellent reviews. Although some people are saying Indiana Jones 5 is at least not as bad as Indiana Jones 4, which isn't the best.
I fairly enjoyed it. It
There's
wasn't
parts-
as good as the others.
There's parts of it that I can enjoy, but I imagine that that's just people who. Right, I just want to address this very quickly, okay? There is a subset of people who, probably due to the influence of a website, who I do like. I've got to put that out there, called Red Letter Media. Are you aware of them? They did back in 2009 what they called the Plinkett reviews, where they put a character on called Mr. Plinkett. He's an old crotchety man who does disturbing things in his spare time. And they really, really ragged on the George Lucas era prequel films of Star Wars, and they did the same to the George Lucas and Steven Spielberg Indiana 4. And they have a certain amount of their identity. And I understand the prequels are not amazing films, but they have redeeming qualities as far as I'm concerned. Same with Indiana Jones 4. But there are people who have wrapped up so much of their identity in hating George Lucas and everything that he did post, let's say, Indiana Jones 3, that they cannot admit films that come out these days, like the Star Wars sequels or like the new Indiana Jones, are worse because they have just wrapped so much of their identity in hating George Lucas. I just wanted to get that out there. I don't think it's fair. George seems like a nice guy. Leave him alone. Just needed to. There's my public service announcement for today. Anyway, carrying on. So The Flash had a domestic box office of $105 million, an international box office of 156, leading to a worldwide gross of $262 million, with some change on top of that. The budget for this film was $200 million. So, to the layperson, they hear that and they think, okay, so it's made $60 million. No, that's not how that works. So you get the production budget for the film, and then what you have to do to figure out how much it will even need to make to break even is double it. Because you've also got to look into things like the marketing, all of the interviews, all of the payments that are going to have to go to the stars for everything afterwards. Are there going to have to be reshoots? Are you going to have to go back? Are you going to have to re-edit the whole film? How much is all of this going to cost? You're going to have adverts on television. You're going to have to add adverts on the radio. You're going to have to hire out billboards. All of this costs millions of dollars to be able to do. So take the production budget and then double it. So reasonably, you'd want $400 million for this. And then consider that you'll probably have taken out loans to be able to afford the production in the first place. Add the interest on all of that loans and everything. So sometimes you don't even double. Sometimes you maybe 2.5. So $500 million for this. And then remember, Hollywood don't make films just so they can make $50 million. Now they do it so they can make $1 billion. Ever since Avatar broke records, they've just been in an arms race to see who can make the most money because they all want to hit that $1 billion mark. So this, complete disappointment. Everybody hates it. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. This had a production budget of about $300 million. How they make it so expensive, I don't know. Worldwide, $258 million. So they've not even made back the production budget just yet. And this is very disappointing for all the bean counters over in Hollywood. And it's because people just don't want to go see these films anymore. People are tired of being insulted by the films that they go to watch. I don't want to spoil too much for you, but I have seen some reviews of this film. And there is Phoebe Waller-Bridges plays a new female character who is taking the place, essentially, of Indy. And I think what people don't want to watch, certainly I don't want to watch, is an 80-year-old Indiana Jones failing to be cool and being emasculated by a younger, stuck-up, annoying woman.
Yeah.
Indy had cool female characters in all the other films, or at least in the first three. I mean, what was it? Marianne came back for the fourth one?
Yeah, Kevin Black actress.
Yeah, that. And she was fine from what I remember. It was nice to see her back. It was nice to have a nice full circle story for Indiana Jones. But that's just not what happens in these films now. Then they go, oh, you had a full circle story for your character. They had a complete character arc. Well, guess what? We're going to revisit them They're a miserable, failed old man now. Like, look at Luke Skywalker in all the more recent Star Wars films. He's a miserable, failed old man who's not supposed to be aspirational. He's horrible. He's evil. He's basically just like your grumpy, racist granddad. You should hate him. Instead, look up to this young, amazing, strong, and powerful, independent woman. That's what they do with these films. And it's infuriating, but this is something that's been going on for years. I'm just repeating just repeating lines that people have been saying for years now.
Well, they're also hoping a spin-off with her. That's what that's what they're trying to do, because he's doing no more. But can they do a new franchise with her?
No.
Oh. Yeah.
Even the people who I've seen who gave positive reviews of the film said, I didn't like it very much.
Yeah.
So if they're looking, because everybody watches Indiana Jones for Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
because he's cool, because he's fun. But The Sound of Freedom had a production budget, I've checked, of $14.5 million. So let's say about $30 million overall to be able to break even.
Tiny.
It is very small nowadays for how much.
Sure.
I mean, it's interesting because I mentioned Indiana Jones. Production budget for the first Indy, Raiders of the Lost Ark, $24 million. That's just how much things have ballooned since the 1980s. But this, $14.5 million, so say about $30 million, and it's made a worldwide, obviously it's domestic right now, but of $53 million, which isn't a huge profit, but unlike the other films, it's actually a profit because they knew what they were working with, they knew the kind of budget that they should work within, and they decided to just go with that, and it's made them money. People want to go see it, and it's been getting positive reviews off the back of it as well. I looked at the Rotten Tomatoes, and I think it's got 78% Rotten Tomatoes score from the critics, because they're going to be here and they're going like, oh, it's about men doing things that help people. Oh, this is very right-wing. I don't know about this. The actual people's score for the non-critic score is 99%. So everybody else just really enjoys this film. And there you go, BBC talking about it. It tells the story of a government agent who busts a child sexual abuse ring operation in Colombia. The main character is based on Timothy Ballard, a former Department of Homeland Security agent who founded an anti-human trafficking organization, Operation Underground Railroad. Now, I've seen from some of these other articles that we look at, some of them cast aspersions on his exploits within the Department of Homeland Security. They say, well, the Department of Homeland Security can't confirm nor deny if anything that he talks about actually happened. Probably because they've got... that's not how government...
No. That's not how these police agencies work.
Yeah, they can't just go, oh yeah, that all happened, or they can't even turn around and say, no, that didn't happen, because they need to keep this classified. Maybe he's been breaking some NDAs by giving his stories, but at the end of the day, he's not gone to prison for them, has he? So it's a very strange thing to complain about there. The review aggregate site, Rotten Tomatoes, gives the movie a critic score of 77%, so it's 1% off. The film star, and this is where I think some of the controversy has come in from outside of the film, because it seems like, to be fair, this particular star, Tim Caviezel, who's starring as Tim Ballard's character in this, has said some strange things. He said that he's talked repeatedly about some of its more bizarre themes. He attended a QAnon-themed conference in 2021, has appeared under a number of times on Steve Bannon's podcast, which is nothing to, say he's bad for, but then also called QAnon a good thing. Now, I don't know enough about QAnon personally to comment on that. So make up for your own mind whether that means that he's a weird conspiracy theorist or if he's on your side.
It just means now we don't like him.
Yes, it's an excuse for these sorts of reviewers to turn around and say he's not on our side. That's what it is. And using the language of the movement, he warned that a big storm is coming and also referred to the mystical qualities of adrenochrome, a chemical that QAnon fans falsely believe is being harvested from the brains of child victims. Now, I'm not saying that adrenochrome is a real thing, but I will say that the elites literally got caught having a child sex ring with being orchestrated by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who went down for child sex trafficking in a ring of people doing that, where she was the only person who went down and nobody else got took down for it. So who was she trafficking these people to is a question that we'll be asking forever. You can make up your own minds of who you might think was involved in that situation. But, it's very difficult for me now to look at articles like this from the BBC and articles from The Guardian, like we'll see in a moment, where it calls it a big conspiracy theory when we know that this happened. And we know that this does happen. Not even just in the big scale like that. There are countries like Colombia that do still have this sort of thing happen to them. So just going out and saying, oh, it's a paranoid conspiracy theory movie, it's very strange. What an odd thing to say for something that we know actually happens. It's almost like you want to downplay this whole thing.
Well, things like this, I mean, I don't know if this is true, and I've never heard of this bit before, but let's look at what we do know is true. If you are born an albino in Africa, the likelihood of you being snatched off the street, killed, chopped up, and eaten as medicine by other people is quite high. Having your hands
I did not know that.
There's documentaries on it. If you want to think about what we will ingest because we think it'll have some sort of positive effect, powdered rhino horn, tiger penis. So if someone said to very rich people, we're going to suck this chemical out of a child's brain, it'll kill the child, but then you can ingest it and it'll make you younger or it'll make you live longer. Well, that wouldn't surprise me if some people would do that.
No, I agree that it wouldn't surprise me that if people would do that either. Not that I'm saying that I can guarantee that it does happen.
I have no idea.
But we know some of the things that did happen. So once again, trying to downplay all of this just because of the fact that it lies on the opposite aisle of where you want to be politically seems very immoral to me. Carrying on, Angel Studios has denied links to QAnon and distanced itself from the remarks of the star of its surprise hit. So these will be the people who actually made the film. If I scroll down for this, there you can see on the right. Yep, that's Tim Ballard in that picture there, the person who the story is based on. Very interesting figure. Every actor has their opinions, and many have had said controversial things, said Mr. Harmon, the studio president. For us, it's not about that. It's about getting the message out there. Right now, there's children who are suffering. Very admirable, as far as I'm concerned, because Hollywood doesn't make films like this anymore. They would prefer to shove strong, independent woman down your gullet and make you beg for more, rather than actually make interesting films that people care about. Here's the offending Guardian article. Sound of Freedom, the QAnon adjacent thriller, seducing America. Getting lots of nice buzzwords in the title there so that everybody goes, oh, this is a bad person film for the bad people. And
a white man a hero?
I know.
We've got to get rid of these films. Jesus, we do.
I know, it's so terrible. If it was being the same thing being done by a strong black woman, then maybe we could accept it. But no, with this guy...
And he's helping brown children.
I know. This is white savior.
I'm leaving.
This is white savior right here. He's got blonde hair. He's got blue eyes. I'm disgusted. I'm sorry. I love the rhetoric that's used here. Type the word Sound of Freedom into Twitter. Decent people who wish to live good, happy lives should under no circumstances actually do this. And the search will yield dozens of triumphant reports crowing about the improbable victory of a film by that title over the likes of Indiana Jones at the box office this week. Now, what I'd recommend after reading this next paragraph is for the person who wrote this article to reverse the video about 10 minutes and listen to my spiel about how films actually make money. Because he really needs it, bless him. It says, that's not strictly speaking accurate. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny had already been out for 5 days, the first 3 of which out-earned Sound of Freedom's opening day take, when the new independent thriller came to theaters on Tuesday. But for a fleeting moment, while the intended audience of Indy's latest outing was presumably spending time with their families and friends at barbecues, an unoccupied fandom rallied by the star Jim Caviezel claimed the day with a $14.2 million gross versus Dial of Destiny's $11.7 million gross. No matter that these figures require selective, almost willfully misleading framing to allow for the David and Goliath narrative trumpeted by supporters, as the copious tweets accusing Disney of being in cahoots with the global cabal of high-powered... Jesus Christ, this paragraph.
I know.
High-powered pedophiles makes clear. No comment. The truth doesn't have too much purchase around these parts. So they're insinuating that, oh, you're just manipulating the figures to make it seem like it's out-earned. Nobody's saying that it's out-earned. People are saying it made a profit, which Indiana Jones so far has failed to do. Once again, reverse this video, figure out how movies make their money and how much actually gets spent on these films, and then come back to me, please, Mr. Guardian journalist. They also talk, here's some other choice select quotes I've got here. The uninitiated may not pick up on the red yarn and corkboard subtext pinned onto a mostly straightforward extraction mission. So it's right wing because of the fact, once, like we mentioned, there's a white man and he's helping brown people. Therefore it's evil and right wing. Make it make sense. And yet a coating of plausible deniability covers a film. So Once again, it's not saying nothing explicit. It's just, here are these events happening in a way that you can understand and empathize with. Therefore, it's evil, according to this. These zestier strains of scaremongering are absent in the text itself. That's right. I've made it up myself. But they lurk in the shadows around the film, outwardly non-insane enough to lure in the persuadable. The disappointingly unjuicy Sound of Freedom pretends to be a real movie, because this person is now the arbiter of what is and isn't a real movie, like a pregnancy crisis center masquerading as a bona fide health clinic. So let's just get some, these people probably don't support abortion either. These people don't support murdering children in the womb. Okay, no, I don't actually. Thank you for noticing. Though we differ on the culprits and causes, everyone agrees that child trafficking is indefensible. Then they're getting a nice...
They had to say that.
They had to say that at the end. It's the final paragraph. If I just scroll all the way down over here. By the way, we also don't support child trafficking. Just in case anybody was confused by this article, The Guardian does not support child trafficking. And we know they don't, because they reported on this in 2018. The film is set in Colombia.
Yeah.
I would assume that this might be the actual child sex trafficking ring that they are talking about in the film that Jim Ballard was involved in taking down. Here's an article from 2018 about a child sex trafficking being rife in Colombia's picturesque city of Cartagena.
Did you read that article?
I read through most of the article, and it was
shocking.
harrowing.
Army captain raping women across Cartagena, taking them to tattoo parlors to get his initials tattooed under the breast.
It's horrifying.
Dozens and dozens and dozens of them.
Yeah. And this is the sort of thing that happens in places that the Sound of Freedom is dramatizing, yes, but it's based on true narratives. So The Guardian reports on these things, but then turns around and says, but if you make a film about it, if it's too right-wing for us, if the implication of the film is too right-wing for us, no thank you. Similarly, Rolling Stone, my favorite, came out and said that it's a superhero movie for dads with brainworms, dropping QAnon again. To be fair, once again, with the QAnon stuff, this actor might not have done himself any favors bringing that up in his own personal life, but that's his personal life. The film has nothing to do with QAnon. This one as well. Why anti-trafficking experts are torching the Sound of Freedom. Once again, if you want accuracy in films, sorry to break this to you. Braveheart is not actually how it went down.
He's raising it as a problem, even if half of it's made up. Let's say the whole film's made up. Does it matter? He's still raising a real issue that's happening across the world. Child sex exploitation.
Yeah, but what is it that Hollywood cares about? What is it that Hollywood cares about while all of this is going on and their films are being tanked while films that people actually want to go and see are succeeding? Well, they're saying, we're on strike. We're on strike because we don't want to be replaced with AI. And neither do the writers. And the writers want to be paid more. We all want to be paid more. Nobody wants to be replaced with AI. And I don't say this because I actually think that it would be good in the long run. But as far as Hollywood productions go right now, if most of the people involved in them, certainly the writers, were replaced with AI, I would expect we would get much better films.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Most of the films Hollywood produce could be done by AI. Every rom-com, every action film could all be done by AI. What couldn't be done would be the human interest stories. And some of the original films that be like, oh, that came out of nowhere. What was that about? Matrix would be a good example of something that just comes out.
I would never want films, not necessarily Hollywood. I think Hollywood should crash and burn, to be perfectly honest. But I would never want films to be replaced by robots making films for us, because it would remove the humanity. Obviously, it would. But
it's going to happen.
But Marvel absolutely could put it on a. It's already on a production line. But if they just had the AI doing it, I would imagine we'd probably get better, more logically consistent stories than we get nowadays. I've not watched Marvel.
Well, it all depends who programs it. So if you've got AI and you program it to be a woke superhero film, you're still going to get a piece of rubbish.
Yeah, but with that, that's everything I wanted to talk about regarding this. If you get the opportunity to watch Sound of Freedom, I'd say it seems like a film worth supporting. Yeah. So I'll try and watch it as soon as I get opportunity to.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the Contemplation series, this episode on When Does Something Become a Vice. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.